friends, and welcome back to Paint Bravely, the podcast where you can find a little bit of encouragement, discover new ways to make your hobby more fun, and most importantly, learn to paint bravely. All right, we got some fun hobby topics, some sort of, I guess, less than fun hobby topics to talk about, but interesting ones nonetheless. But before we get there, Brent, what's been going on the last couple weeks, hobby-wise?
Well, I've been trying out paint markers. So somebody, Deep Cut Studio, took speed paint, like Army Paint or Speed Paint 2.0, and they put it into paint markers, and it's a official team-up product that was released on Black Friday, and I've been playing with those. So this is surprisingly not one of those situations where I just got speed paint in the mail. This is a situation where kind of like the Duncan Rhodes paint situation, where I was just at a convention where it was being shown off for the first time and was able to buy a set. So this had like a stealth release at Essen this year in Germany, and there was a booth. Deep Cut Studio had their booth, and they had a little paint and takes table set up, and for 4 days that table was full of people sitting down and using markers, paint markers loaded with speed paint to paint these minis that had been primed in white. And it seemed like folks were having a good enough time, and the markers were doing what they were supposed to be doing, and the tips held up for 4 full days of being used by every random person at the convention. And so I bought a set. At this point, they only have 20 of the colors of speed paint loaded up into markers. But I mean, I had a pretty good journey around the color wheel for that. And there were some was like, I don't really like that color. I don't know. I would have chosen a different one. You know, they had Raging Ocean loaded up instead of Caribbean Sea, which I think was a huge mistake. But, yeah. But yeah, that is interesting. I think paint markers may be one of the trends that kind of cycle through the hobby in the next year or two. AK was also showing off some paint markers. That's all I'll say about that, because I really don't want to be in the same sentence as AK Interactive's marketing department and Goobertown Hobbies. I just don't want those two things to have a lot of overlap in the internet space. But other companies are definitely starting to dip their toe into the world of paint markers. And so I was able to paint up a couple of little starter sets that I had. I had a starter set of 1-page rules, Age of Fantasy Skirmish, so 5 Saurians and 5 mummified undead, which are really kind of reminiscent of Lizard Men and Tomb Kings. I don't know, some reminds me. Yeah, something small, some small detail. yeah, but basically I just tried the old slap chop, but instead of using a brush loaded with speed paint, I used a marker loaded with speed paint, and pretty similar. I suppose it would be, yeah. There's the big thing is that you don't have a palette, and that comes with all of the advantages and disadvantages of not having a palette. So you're not constantly spending your time washing your brush, reforming the tip, reloading your brush. And the other side of that is you have a little less control over what exactly is on the tip of your brush. You can't be mixing colors in a palette. Even the actual act of doing a wash, like really loading up your brush and slopping it on over a model to do a wash, is actually pretty hard to do with a marker. Like a marker just kind of puts down a medium amount, and so you're kind of coloring in the model stroke by stroke, and it's a little harder to just slap it all down there. So but that being said, it's super intuitive to use markers, because we all have thousands of hours using pens and pencils and that sort of thing, and your hand knows what to do.
Be pretty good. Are these like I don't know, well, like the tips on them, are they like the marker like paintbrush type tips, or are they like felt tips, you know?
I think it seems like it might be like a compressed foam or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
It is paint marker tips, and I don't actually know what the material is, but it's a fairly rigid shape that holds its point and
I mean, I guess as long as
flows
it's
the
pointy.
paint through. Yeah, so I was able to go to my local art supply store and buy an empty paint marker that was very similar to what these guys are selling. And so I actually did make myself a couple of like homemade speed paint markers that behave exactly the same. The funny thing is, though, is that the empty markers at my local art store were shockingly expensive. So
Really?
I went to my local art store and I had a couple of speed paint markers in my pocket and go up to the front desk and say like, hey, how you doing? Like, do you have any like empty versions of these? And they pulled out a couple and I'm like, great, how many of those do you have? You only have 3 in stock? Fine, I'll take 3 of them. Cool.
$60 later.
They were $15 each.
That was far off, okay.
Also, I was there. I got some watercolor papers to do some swatching, and I got a couple of just preloaded white paint pens, almost as like whiteout markers to use as I was using these speed paint markers. And I got everything that I needed, and the things that I'd seen the price for were like super reasonable, like $4 for this, $3 for this, whatever. And then, they ring me up and it's like a $60 purchase. Like, wait, what just happened?
It feels like that every time. I swear, every time.
Yeah, it does. But I was surprised by what my accidental purchase was. It was the empty paint marker that was $15 each. And I went home and I looked up that exact brand and model and style. And that was the price they were going for online, was $15 for for a Molotov 222 EM.
That kind of makes sense. Like the Molotov stuff is pretty expensive. It also like the actual ink refills are like really good for airbrushing. Okay. Yeah.
So, and before I forget, we know that there's nothing new under the sun, that the art community has probably dabbled in this 40 years ago. We understand that. But us gamers who don't know no better are discovering this now, and we understand. But some of you also don't know this, and we're sharing what we discover with you. So, bear with us. That's all. But yes, I was aware that there were probably paint markers at my art store, which is why I went there, and indeed there were, but so anyway, you absolutely can make your own speed paint markers at home. It turned out to be far more expensive than just buying them preloaded. So
interesting.
Deep Cut Studio is selling these, and indeed are selling these in their online store for €5 for a loaded speed paint marker, which is cheaper than buying a bottle of speed paint plus a $15 empty Molotov.
I guess maybe you get more like reloads out of it in that case, but like
so the markers hold 6 milliliters of liquid. Instead of 18 milliliters that come in an ordinary dropper bottle.
It still doesn't math out. Like you'd be just better off buying it from the pre-made, even at 6 milliliters. Like
in that situation, So in general, I think a lot of the people listening to this podcast probably won't end up using a lot of markers in their day-to-day hobby time.
Sure.
There's enough trade-offs. You get a lot of convenience out of the markers for sure. And I mean, if you want to do something stupid like take a couple markers with you onto an airplane and be sitting at your fold down desk and painting a few things in, probably get away with that because you don't need a cup of water or you don't need a paper towel. Paper towel's never a bad idea, but you don't need a palette.
They give you napkins.
If you want to just do your regular Friday routine of going alone to Applebee's and sitting at a table, and while you're waiting for your chicken fingers, you can be pull out your markers and paint some goblins or something. Yeah, that's good. That being said, I'm slap chopping some minis and they look fine. They don't look great. They look fine. Like you can do some stuff with the speed paint markers. You can get a model looking fine in half an hour. But for a lot of the people listening to this podcast, probably just use your paintbrush, spend a little more time, get it looking better.
Yeah.
One of the use cases I was thinking about is obviously for newer painters and younger painters. And it came into my head, like if you have a D&D group and nobody paints, but if you just show up with a pile of markers one day and say, take 20 minutes and paint your character. Here's a mini that's primed white and a pile of markers. Just color in your character. I think that could actually be a really useful gateway into getting people to give this a little bit of a try. So,
I mean, the barrier to entry is now much lower, right? Because I know how to use a marker. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, you're painting on a 3-dimensional canvas, not really that different. Okay. Mm-hmm. Like, people who don't paint models, I think, would at least, if you showed up and you're like, here's a bunch of markers, these are meant for painting models, paint your model before we play. I'm not playing with like unpainted models. Yeah, they probably would, and they probably have a good enough time that they might even consider trying it a little bit differently. Like, we've been talking about slap chop for a couple of years now being this nice barrier to entry for most people to just get the models on the table and have them look pretty good. Cat's going nuts. Now that's even more so, because like, I colored yesterday with my kids, and we did paint markers, and that's pretty fun. That's not far off. So hey, if I can give them a model, well, now things are looking good.
Real good. Yeah.
So that's not bad. Yeah. You said it was an actual collaboration between this company and
the
Army
markers Painter? Have Deep Cut Studio and the Army Painter printed on them. And I know they've sold Army Painter products for a while. So Deep Cut Studio, it seems like their primary thing has been they make game mats and stuff like that, like neoprene game mats. Seem to be what they were selling the most of at their booth. They have an online store, and they are a vendor for a couple of other paint brands and stuff like that. I admit I had not heard of them before, but they were getting a lot of attention there at the convention for their speed paint markers, and I think this will be one of the fads of the year, and we'll see how much staying power it has. I will say before I forget, the metallic, there was one metallic color, it was a silver color, and it was really good. Like I still have trouble if there's a big axe blade or a big sword blade, I still have trouble just getting a smooth coat of metallic paint over that.
That's fair.
If I take the time to load up my airbrush, I can get a nice smooth sword blade or whatever. But if I have a palette and a paintbrush and a random metallic paint, 50-50 whether I get a smooth coat of true metallic paint on that. And the speed paint metallics in general, it's aluminum is what they use for shine, plus a little bit of pigment to either make it like dark steel or gold or bronze or whatever. And the speed paint metallics, they're a weird thing because they don't really belong with the like wash speed paints. They're not really a wash. They're just thin metallic paints. And they're pretty good. Like people like to use them as thin metallic paints. Yeah. And it turns out they're like a really good use case for them is to load them up in a paint marker, and it puts down like the right amount. Like I was doing a bunch of blades on things, flawless, just silver axe, silver armor, silver sword. Makes sense. Yeah, just nice.
I mean, with a marker, right, you have the advantage of it not running out, so you're getting that long, even coat, you know. Mm-hmm. So it makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
there's just enough flow to level itself out a little bit. You're not getting weird chunks in there. So I think the metallics are something that I would actually keep on my painting desk as like a painter where I'm at solidly in the pretty good intermediate painter phase. Like I would keep the metallics on my desk. So like I said, I bought 3 of those empty paint pens, and the 2 that I have loaded up so far are I loaded up a dark steel and I loaded up a gold, because those are legitimately useful. And
nice.
Yep. So we shall see if this is all successful. I guess one thing I'm a little bit hesitant about is that this is an off-label use of speed paint. Like, this is not what speed paint was designed to do. It was not designed to be a marker ink. It was designed to be a wash, essentially. And so they found an off-label use that it does work pretty well for, but it makes me wonder if it would be better if something had been like purpose-made for this
something
use.
that isn't necessarily going to dry out or coagulate in some weird way or separate, you know?
Right. We'll see over time what the bigger drawbacks end up being of this stuff. Like, I've painted about 20 models now, and it's been a pretty good experience. You know, some things partially just because of the nature of the speed paint line, but like, you know, some things are like, it's a little more opaque than I wanted. That's a little more translucent than I wanted in this case, which is, you know, hard to deal with if you don't have a palette to thin things out or put things on thicker or whatever. So we'll see. There's definitely an argument to evaluate the popularity of this type of product, and then maybe to fine tune the recipe of the juice that's in there. So it'll be interesting. I'm not going to go out and buy a ton for myself. I would buy a full set of metallics. Like, those are actually quite useful. If you want to put down a smooth coat of metal on a big flat surface, these markers are like a really good way to do it.
Well, and for a long time now,
surprisingly good. Yeah.
Like, Sharpies have been kind of a go-to for doing a lot of trim, right? And that's not that different.
No.
Even the company Sharpie has acrylic pens with Sharpie tips. So I mean, it's proven, right? This thing exists. So like, I could definitely see, like, with an actual good, you know, mini painting metallic, like being able to pen that on top of stuff and just glide right over it and not have to reload your brush. Yeah, that's gonna go a long way for doing some trim. Yeah.
Yep. You know, for trim, there's a question of, okay, what point size do you want on the brush? And so that could be another generation of wherever this ends up going. It was all this, you know, generic medium-sized point that comes to a pretty good point, but you know, it might not be exactly what you want for doing trim on Chaos Armor or something like that. About right, but you know, it'll be interesting to see if there's a refinement process to this, or it'll be interesting to see what the demand is after people try out the first release here.
I mean, it's definitely more down to demand than anything else. Because like, there are other paint pens that are like, oh, this is a paintbrush style tip where it's kind of long and pointy, and you can really get in there and actually make it look like a paintbrush. And I'm sure you could probably find those empty that you could fill up. Like, I don't know what the capillary action would be on, you know, a tip like that with those paints, but you know, I also have to imagine that the company tried some things before they ended up on the one that they ended up on.
Sure.
So I don't know. I'm interested. It should be. We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
More tools is always, more options is a good thing.
For sure.
Experimenting with new ways of doing things. Awesome. And yeah, it seems like what they came to market with is good enough to get folks' attention. So, yep. Yep.
Very cool. Yeah.
What you got going on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything as awesome as that, I guess. Awesome. I've been working on my Tenchworx trash can models. So we took a trip to Tenchworx over in Salt Lake City, and they had an like a miscast bin of stuff that they were just going to throw in the garbage. So Brent and I went through it. I ended up with a pretty decent sized box. I took most of the trash, to be honest. I just dumped it into another box. They were like, "Oh, we're gonna throw it away," so whatever. But I've been making models out of the miscast pieces. Used like a good amount. Like I ended up with a lot of bodies and heads and stuff. So I've just been putting together tons of little dudes, and they look pretty good. Like for being like miscast models too. So I've been pretty excited about that. Just kind of kit bashing a bunch of stuff together. I've been 3D printing stuff out too, to try and kind of, if I'm missing one specific thing I want it to look like, then it's like, okay, cool. I didn't have to spend a bunch of money to get like one single piece, So yeah, it's been pretty good. Been working with a lot
I saw you taking a lot of the Victoria miniatures offcasts out of the bins.
Yeah, that was mostly what was in there. Because Victoria Miniatures sells like a bits bag of miscasts. I think it's like the scrappers bag, I think they call it. So a lot of Victoria Miniature stuff, and I've been using that mainly to build Tenchworx models, or I'm sorry, Trench Crusade models.
It's both.
It's both. Yeah. It seemed appropriate. I wrote that in the script that I'm actually working on for that too. I was like, this seems very
jokes.
appropriate.
It's a pun.
I got jokes. Yeah. The Victoria models are really good though for all of this stuff, because they already kind of like that, like this World War, whatever you want to call it, look. They got trench coats and big hats, and even some of the ones I found in there had like the big, like the plate hats that the British wore in World War I. You know what those are called? I don't know what they're called.
I don't know what they're called, but yeah, I can imagine them. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. The big plate with
keeps the sun out of your eyes. And
yeah.
Maybe bullets. Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. But I actually found some of those in the bin, just so super conveniently. Like Victoria makes some of those heads. I don't even know what kit, but I got them and I've been using them. They look crazy. So yeah, that's been pretty exciting. I do enjoy some kit bashing, and especially at a bunch of random kind of half broken stuff. Like we're making magic.
You had a good pile there. You had a good pile of potential from that trash can. That was no ordinary trash can. Like
no.
You're making models out of trash, but it was the trash from a very specific place in the world.
That's a good point. Like no other trash can is just filled with.
You didn't go to your
Victoria
local
miniatures.
KFC and start to. Yeah.
That's an interesting idea. Like I could make some chicken bone like models. We could make something.
Please don't.
I'm not ever going to.
I know some people do,
idea.
but it's something really disconcerting about that. Yeah.
There is like the specific thing that comes to mind is this mechanical crab that I've seen floating around. There's videos of this mechanical crab where like they caught the crab, they ate the crab, they disassembled it, then they put it all back together, right? Kind of like the skeleton. And then they like started to kit bash it with these mechanical parts and like screws and metal and made it a model. But it's still a crab. Like it's still the actual.
That's an interesting one too. So, because crabs molt, and so it is possible to acquire all those supplies without murdering the crab and having it being an effigy that could only be made with the delicious crab outers.
I mean, it's gonna happen. They're gonna be there. Like you could find them.
Yeah. I would say that is 1 degree more tasteful than chicken bones. I'd say that.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the chicken bone thing, you'd have to be pretty dedicated and probably go above and beyond like a KFC to complete that collection, which definitely puts it into the creeper camp for sure. You know what? Just gonna say it. Don't use real anything. Don't
hot
do
takes here on Paint Bravely the podcast.
It's so hot take. Yeah. Don't use like animal parts in your modeling. I mean, I have to imagine some people do, but it's weird.
Sometimes they use seashells. Those are part of Animalia that I don't care much about. Yeah.
It's a sea life that's been dead, and you're walking on the beach and finding them. Yeah.
That's low tier sea life. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's different. It's different.
The least respected part of Kingdom Animalia.
Probably.
Nobody cares about mollusks.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I use a lot of seashells, like for my bases. Kind of think of
echinoderms.
Yeah, like I painted a lot of seashells. Most of my models actually probably have seashells on them. Yeah, I'm just saying. That's a strange.
We're talking ourselves right around to KFC again, aren't we?
Maybe I'm hungry. I don't know. But in general, like the taxidermy as part of like Warhammer or any other game is a strange combination, because I do enjoy a good taxidermied chipmunk sitting at a table. Like that's interesting. You see,
taxidermy is really its own thing. I don't know how well it pairs with any other hobby.
That's kind of what I mean, though. Like starting to mix it. Like I have a giant crab mecha, but it's an actual crab.
Yeah, painting minis. There's a lot of good overlap with all kinds of other crafts.
That's true. Yeah,
taxidermy's a hard one.
Yeah. Man. I feel like a taxidermist sometimes, I've been melting models in jars and putting together stuff out of the garbage. Like it feels like I'm in that kind of realm a little bit, just in a less weird way. But man, I've also just been in general printing out Victoria miniatures because Black Friday was yesterday as we're recording this. So yeah, like she had a good sale. It was good.
Outstanding.
So I bought a lot of models. A lot of models. Yeah. That's mostly what I've been working on though. I've got my tables just full of tons of different garbage. It's just full right now. So I'm going through it slowly. I think I'm gonna like separate all the pieces and kind of try and create like a Kitbashing box. It's just how the old kits used to come with like torso, arm, and a head. You could put them in the box like torsos below the heads and the arms in the proper spots and the legs down at the bottom, and you can just kind of pick.
I've got a few of those tackle boxes. Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah. No, that's a good, satisfying thing to do, and I'm actually looking forward to doing that. I still have a lot of work to do. I have barely begun to. I haven't painted a single model this week. I've just been building them, and I don't know when I'm gonna get to. I might not even get to painting them, like depending on how many I end up going through. But we'll see. But I am trying to, like I said,
below if you think Casey should paint his models.
That's not gonna happen. Not this week, anyways. No, I've been printing out a bunch of, like I said, Trench Crusade stuff. I'm going to take all of these models that are already pretty appropriate, feels like, and I'm just going to stick little, bits onto it and stuff. But I did want to mention that, because I've brought up Trench Crusade a few times now, and I don't know what it is about this game in particular, because it's not that extraordinary. It's not really anything different. Like it's different enough in the the themes that are going on, but like it's a grimdark kind of thing, right? Like we've seen that. But the actual like community support behind this so far has been something that I don't think I've necessarily seen in any other game. like I've been printing out models. I've been finding models that people are sculpting, like actively sculpting. I got a model the other day that was like, oh, this is the first model I've sculpted. I'm trying to get into this and this whatever. I printed it out. The head collapsed. I talked to the guy who sculpted it, and he's like, oh, I'm working on a fix for that. Sent out version 2, got to print that out. It's like, this is actively happening, right? Mm-hmm. Like, people are creating things as a community that they're trying to make like a solid thing in this game. And it's not like you can do that in something like Warhammer, right? You can't go to Games Workshop and be like, oh, I made this sweet warband. Can this be part of the game? Like, that's probably not going to happen. But in this case, it kind of could. Like, there's actually a lot of potential for that and building that into what's going on in their world and in their lore and whatever else is going. So, I don't know. It's had a lot of people excited. I'm weirdly excited about it. And, I just think it's worth noting this point in time is unique. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe if folks are listening 6 months, a year in the future, and maybe nobody cares about Trench Crusade anymore, but maybe. Yeah.
If it's been that long,
maybe.
Right? Like, and just be like, nope, Trench Crusade is dead. Just let me know. Let me know. I'll have taken all these Victoria and Tenchworx models and put them together for nothing.
Well, you'll still have your grim dark trench models.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
You use them in one of them turnip games, or
I'll put little like sticks on their heads, and I'll be good to go. Yeah. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's uses for those. You're not wasting your time. Whether Trench Crusade goes to the moon or not, you're not wasting your time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah. Speaking of Black Friday, though, I mean, I ended up getting, obviously I said a lot of Victoria miniatures. Like I spent a good amount on their website, printed out the big ogres and, a bunch of different bits and pieces and got a bunch of models. Did you find anything on sale?
I didn't even try to go shopping.
Did you not at all?
Well, we still got time. This episode may come out on Cyber Monday. In which case you
will.
Yeah, probably.
I promise it will. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
If it doesn't, hold me to it. It's fine.
So there's still time. I haven't really looked. Last year I went pretty hard with the terrain, the buildings from.
Yeah, you got all those.
What
houses.
Are these called? Battle. I
don't even remember.
Tabletop world.
Yeah, world. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You bought like $600 in houses or something. I don't even remember.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of houses. They look good.
And I bought the castle walls. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I saw those in a video. Yeah. It's all justified.
I still have some primed but unpainted houses, in my cupboard over there. So there's more where that came from. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh man.
But they've added a few new houses to their lineup, and in past years, they had pretty good Black Friday sales. I'm going to take a look. Yeah.
I mean, now that you've bought all the houses, like if they come out with one or two more, it's like that's
you gotta collect them all.
Yeah, it's not a huge stretch. Like you just buy the new houses. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In for a penny, in for a pound. Yeah.
Yeah.
Many pounds.
Many, many, many pounds. Oh.
Yeah, I think I've been saying that company is in Czech Republic, but I think the actual answer is Croatia. I think I've been messing up my C countries.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, with apologies to Croatia and Czech Republic. I'm sorry. Try to do better. Okay, another news item here. As we're recording, 98% of the employees of Vallejo are on strike.
That's insane.
Yeah. So they have 74 employees and 98% are on strike. So there's either one or two who aren't.
The owner and the co-owner. Yeah.
I think we could have a fun little bit on this serious topic. If you want to have some fun thinking about whether there's one or two people not on strike and who they are, yeah. Hey, Esteban, stop that. Esteban, stop working. Come on, Esteban. We're all out here.
Yeah. I mean, but you can't have 100% people go on strike, because then it's no more company. That's not how that works.
So okay. So to back up, it is the way they're doing the strike is they are striking for 2 hours every day and then going to work for the rest of the day. And they've basically said, like, if negotiations do not progress, they have the option open of escalating, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they are striking for higher wages, they are striking for safer work conditions, and they are striking for putting something in the employee handbook about harassment, or adding like an official harassment policy to the workplace. Yeah, so seems like there's some smoke there. My gut reaction on hearing something like this is that we should be paying attention. Not, we do not have, none of us have the complete story on, and if there's any like proximal causes on any of this stuff.
I don't think anything's been said. Right.
Well, there've been some releases from there's like kind of a broader union that represents Vallejo employees. I think they represent several other companies in this region of Spain. But so they've had a few press releases about what their demands are and what they're hoping to achieve. But I haven't seen any press releases about why they are asking for a policy about harassment in the workplace.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I'm sure there's a story there, and it's probably not one they want to share necessarily, because you wouldn't be asking for it if it wasn't a reason.
Yeah, unless that's a clever negotiation ploy. But again, there probably is a reason. It seems like there's some smoke there. We don't know. We don't need to speculate. But my gut reaction is just that the hobby community should be paying attention to this and aware of this. The way I'm reading this here in the early days is that the employees of Vallejo really want to have a talk with management, and we will judge management based on how they respond to those requests.
I mean, in a situation like this, I don't know that they even have a choice. I mean, I'm sure they can negotiate a little bit, for whatever the percentages are. But, if it's unsafe or unsanitary working conditions, which I think was part of it, they're going to fix those things. And I guess we'll see how quickly they can do that. Yeah. In the meantime, at least I guess they're working most of a shift. So paints are still, assuming they're coming out and things are running mostly normal.
Yep.
Yeah.
So again, it depends when you listen to this, if any of this information is still relevant. But yeah, my gut feeling is just pay attention, do a Google search to see where this is at. Be aware of these things.
Yeah.
So from my point, during the strike, I'm not going to be putting Vallejo paints into my videos. I think, that's seems about right. They haven't necessarily asked for involvement of the community. I think other than just being aware and cheering them on and raising awareness of the fact that they're striking for these things. To be fair, the other thing that's going on here is I've heard that Vallejo is planning to move to a larger facility that is being constructed, because the current facility is really not good. Seems to be the story.
Well, it certainly seems that way.
Yeah. And so there's a little bit of undertones of don't worry about the current safety standards. We won't be in this place for that long. And,
Yeah.
Who knows how far along the new facility actually is in terms of development and how long it will be until it opens. And some of the other things they're asking for is like fair pay. Yeah. If I'm spending, $4 or $5 on a bottle of paint, or in some cases like more than $10 on a bottle of paint for their nicer metallics, I do want their employees to be paid well.
Yeah, and I mean that's a global company. Like those paints are all over the world. Like it's not a small company. They obviously employ a good amount of people, so it only makes sense that everything should be, nice for people to go to work. Like they shouldn't have to deal with a bunch of garbage, even if a new facility is being built. So yeah,
100%. So yeah, we're behind the employees at Vallejo there, and we're wishing them success. We're hoping that resolves quickly. And if it does not resolve quickly, we'll be talking about it again. So
well, yeah, we'll definitely, keep updating as things go. Who knows? Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how quickly it gets resolved.
Yeah. So on my channel, I enjoy, doing like tours of factories, and we were just talking about how we were at the Tenchworx factory. We like seeing how things were made. And yeah, we're not going to share the pay and benefits of the Tenchworx employees, but yeah, they were doing pretty well. Like that, like I was not shocked or horrified when I saw the conditions or the compensation for those folks. But anyway, I frequently try to talk with company owners and managers, CEOs, presidents, whatever. And because I like getting the access of seeing how things are made in this niche. And I'll just say that if the employees for any of the companies for who I am friendly with the CEO decide to strike, I will be on the side of the employees, and I can politely say to any owner or whatever that I have a relationship with, like, I wish your whole company the best of luck, but your employees are trying to tell you something, and you should probably listen. But
yeah. So. I mean, that's the whole idea of having a union in something like that, and being able to go on strike and having the right to do that, right? Like there's something wrong and everybody agrees, so let's fix it. It doesn't have to be hostile or anything. It's just a negotiation period. And clearly these people at Vallejo like their company enough to continue to work there. They're not just out front, not working, right? Shutting it down. So they're not trying to like hamstring anybody. So, it's good to see, I guess, the kind of even back and forth.
And for purely selfish reasons, I want the employees at these hobby companies to be there for the long haul. I want skilled, experienced people to be making these paints and supplies and stuff.
We need our speed paints to be consistent. Consistent. Yeah. That's important. You got to have the same people overseeing and knowing.
Anytime there's a strike, there's some segment of the population will be like, you don't like your job, get a new job. But, from a customer point of view, I don't want that to be a revolving door situation. I don't want my paints to always be made by somebody who's been there for 3 weeks. I want
right.
I want skilled professionals to be mixing and bottling these paints. That would be much preferable. Absolutely.
Exactly.
In addition to the fact that the workers deserve dignity and a good, reliable job. But so anyway, Vallejo's on strike. And something else worth mentioning is that I think in the last year, the Vallejo family did sell the company to, I don't know, big money investors of some kind. And so in all of this conversation, my understanding is that at the moment, anyone with the last name Vallejo is not necessarily a problem. Like
interesting.
I do not know any of the deep lore, but like just as if people are starting to wildly conjecture things, like on that issue specifically, let's tap the brakes a little bit. But
I love that, like the deep lore of this very niche Spanish paint company is like a possibility to understand and know. Like it's It's funny. It just sounds very funny. Like, yeah.
There is, though. I mean, it's a company that's been around for decades.
Yeah,
It has 74 current employees, and over the decades, many, many more, I'm sure. But yeah, another issue of understanding exactly what's going on in real time is that this is all in Spanish. Like, this is a Spanish company.
Yeah, and their translations have not always been super accurate, too. You know?
Yeah, the Google Translate has been giving me paragraphs of things that look pretty reasonable.
Sure.
And back in high school, I did take many years of Spanish, of which some fragments do remain. Yeah.
Fragments. Like basic, where is the bathroom? Can I order this?
The cheese is old and moldy. Where is the bathroom? One of the best lines from Encino Man. Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, we're keeping an eye on that. And I don't know, is there anything else we needed to say on the whole Vallejo strike?
I don't think so. I mean, we'll see how it plays out. It's certainly an interesting thing to happen in the hobby in general. Like that's not. I don't think we've seen that before. So we'll see. It's certainly going to shake things up. You know, it's going to set some expectations. And people are going to be looking at a lot of the other companies and seeing what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's all to the good. Like when I woke up one day and checked social media and saw that Vallejo employees were on strike, my gut reaction was good. My gut reaction was, that's awesome news. That, you know, obviously a bit disappointed to read about why they were on strike, but
sure.
But I was like, heck yeah, right on. Like 98%, that's an incredible success rate on getting folks to stick together and stand up for themselves, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it should boost morale at least if they get what they need and they all come back and everybody's doing good and feeling good, you know?
Yeah. And you know, I don't know what conditions are like at every single company and or brand in our space. I don't know how many of them maybe should consider forming a union or not. I don't know, but it seems like the employees at Vallejo are setting an awesome example. Right on.
Yeah. So we're just gonna switch right from that because
what do you get?
I don't know how else to segue to anything else. She's like, so here's something. No, so yesterday I went to my P.O. box, right? Because I got a notification that I got something there and they wanted me to come pick it up. So I go in there and they look at me kind of funny when I hand them the little ticket, right? And they're just like, oh, you got the big box. And I'm like, I literally have no idea. I'm not necessarily expecting anything in my P.O. box right now. And they pull it out and it's like a moving tote on wheels that is probably, I don't know, 3.5 4 feet wide kind of thing, like something you would slide in the trunk of a car if you were moving. And it was duct taped with black duct tape around it, and there was a lock on the front of it. And it costs a good amount of money to ship. It's like $140 to ship to my P.O. box, and I don't actually know who sent it. I don't recognize the name on the front. It's from somewhere in Minnesota. And I wasn't 100% sure it would be in there. Turns out I did get all the tape off. It's a nice looking case. And I had to figure out the number on the lock. It was like a combination lock. So I did figure it out. I tried a few things first, ended up being 000. So, go figure. And it was filled with a bunch of Warhammer stuff, like new in box, some on sprues, tons of Space Wolf upgrade kits, some really cool stuff. But I don't know who sent it. I don't remember ever hearing about it, but I appreciate it nonetheless. It's going to go a long way in helping my channel.
Right
so
on.
If you're
cool.
watching, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Life is full of surprises.
It is. I thought for sure I was going to get poisoned or something. It was very interesting package.
Like a corpse in there. Or...
I did think about it. think, something's in it. It's a big box. It's a big box. That's not normal.
The fact that you were getting a reaction from the post office employees is pretty funny.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you.
Yes, exactly. Oh, the guy was like, oh, I remember this. Like, I wrote this down. And he put like XXL on the like little paper that went in my P.O. box. And he's like, this doesn't even need. And it's the big one. Like, I'm going to go get it. Like, okay. Thanks. Yeah, he just like wheels it out too. Like, it's because it's got wheels on one side. So he's like carrying it. It only weighs like 40 pounds. But he wheeled the thing out. And he's just like, yeah, it's been sitting here. We've been wondering. Like, yeah, I'm wondering too. I have no idea.
Yeah. What kind of person is going to walk in here with this ticket? Yeah. What?
Yeah. I feel like I've been that guy at my post office multiple times. Normally I go in, there's this dude, John, super helpful guy. He's always been there. Like since I was like a young kid too. Like he's been the guy that works at this post office. Mm-hmm. And he's always been helpful. And now he's beginning to recognize when I go pick up stuff from the P.O. box, like it's going to be something weird. Like I got a new sonic cleaner the other day. Vivor, the company, sent me a sonic cleaner, right? And it came in a pretty big box, and he's just like, what is this? Why are you getting this weird sonic cleaner thing? Because like it's on the box, so I have to explain all these things to this guy, and he still doesn't. I don't think he quite fully understands what it is that I do and why I'm receiving the random assortment of things that I am receiving. Because I've also gotten I got a shipment from Canada, a guy up in Canada a couple years ago that was like 6 of those large flat rate shipping boxes that was filled with Warhammer stuff too. I knew who that was coming from. This one I didn't, so it made it weird. But yeah, in general, he just kind of looks at me every time. He's like, I'll go get your weird boxes, Like he sees me coming. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy for you. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's a pretty good, exciting thing to happen over Thanksgiving, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm thankful for that. That's pretty sweet. Put some cool stickers on your new big box, and
I kind of want to. It's like it's that kind of box too. It's like
maybe start getting pretty deep into Space Wolves. You're already kind of deep in. You've been dipping your toe.
Yeah, I've got some models. I've got some like decently painted Space Wolves. I like them. I think there's more going on with Space Wolves that make Space Marines more interesting than most other models in that range. So at least there's that.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And the upgrade sprues were all Primaris upgrade sprues. So it is at least taking the very bland Primaris Marines and turning them into something interesting. And I do have a lot of Primaris.
You sure do.
Yeah. Got a lot of that. So
those tend to pile up around here, don't they? Yeah.
They do. The Space Marines, they do tend to pile up.
Yeah. Everyone's got someone in their collection, and when you're buying out people's collections, and just kind of you get some. They collect.
They do. It's a little ridiculous, honestly. And I think that probably leads into like not liking them as much. Like if you didn't get them as often as you just randomly got them, if they weren't just shoved down your throat constantly, I think you can be like, oh, that's pretty neat. I like that. But now I'm just like, I don't need more. Stop giving me these. I don't know.
I can see that. that.
Yeah.
But now you can make them wolfy. That's pretty cool.
I mean, that is kind of exciting. I kind of want to do that. We'll see. It should be fun, but either way, it's a cool box, cool bunch of models. There's some Age of Sigmar stuff in there too. There's some orcs. So yeah, that should be fun.
All right, we could talk. Yeah.
yeah. We got some fantasy stuff.
Now we're talking.
Now. Yeah.
Space Marine, yeah, cool, Casey, cool. Space Marines, nice. Oh, Orcs, you say?
Yeah. Box of brutes.
What vintage? Tell me more about these
That's
orcs.
Not very old, I guess. The first edition AOS starter box and the Maw Crusher, the big cabbage dragon. One of those.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I do like that. That cabbage dragon is a good time. I do like that. So yeah, but nothing like crazy, right? Not like metal orcs or something. Just the nice like newer Age of Sigmar orcs, good ones. The brutes especially, real good. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The brutes, wonderful models.
Yeah. I still like the black orcs too. There's a bunch of those in there. They redid the whole Ard Boys thing more recently, and those are pretty sweet. But those older ones still look pretty good.
I've got a lot of them. Lot of them.
Well, they just they did a spearhead that have a bunch of those Ard Boys, the newer ones, but you can still use the old ones. Doesn't matter.
Sure.
Yeah, but I'm definitely going to be putting a new spearhead together with those Iron Jaws, because the one that they already had was like the Cruel Boys, and I have those. I got a lot of Cruel Boys, but like I was waiting for the Iron Jaws, so I'm pretty happy about that. So yeah, gonna go down to the store. You
eventually canceled your monthly subscription to more Cruel Boys.
I did.
And
I did. I 100% did. I'm pretty happy about that too. Now that I'm not getting that,
you're at just the right level. But no, the Age of Sigmar orcs are models that I really do want to paint more of. That's on my list of when I find a good excuse, when I get around to it, when I think of the right paint scheme. Those are cool models. Big chunky bits of armor you could do in fun colors. Yeah. See a little bit of green poking through here and there. Big angry teeth. Wonderful. Yeah. You got that cabbage. Yeah. Cabbage dragon.
Dude, the cabbage is good. It's good. It's in it, and it's not difficult to paint up either, because it's very like spiky and pokey and textured. So like dry brushing goes a long way. Get that thing knocked out in an afternoon. So yeah.
I hear you. All right. Well, that's wonderful. That is wonderful, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's mostly it for me. I haven't been doing a lot other than that, kit bashing, getting random, models in the mail.
All right. Well, I've got one more thing to say, and then we can wrap this up.
I thought maybe you did. Yeah.
One more thing to say. So I've been pulling out test models for the speed paint markers, and I got a little 5 vs 5 kit for the 1-page rules skirmish Age of Fantasy game. Got those knocked out. And then I pulled out a starter kit for Bloodfields that I bought at Adepticon. I want to say like 2021, something like that. I had a starter kit for Bloodfields, and that's the Titan Forge game. So, Titan Forge for a while was one of the big STL Patreon sellers, but then they went legit. They went mainstream. They started producing physical minis, and their booth at Essen this year was really impressive. There was just a whole line of Titan Forge and 1-page rules and Archvillain games, and not Loot Studio but Loot Tavern. There was a bunch of these like STL companies that were making the pivot to physical minis and being like real boys, like a real real model companies in the meat space at the convention, and they had some of the biggest, best booths of of that hall. And anyway, they're the kind of the first twinge of turning the STLs back into something physical. Titan Forge had bought a Silecast machine and was making this skirmish game, Bloodfields, and I played a demo of that a couple of years ago. Thought it was like actually a pretty good little skirmish game. They got a cool like inspiration mechanic of it's a 4v4, and you get to give like 2 of your characters an inspiration token of like, they're really going hard this turn. And so they get bonuses on their attacks and stuff like that. It's like, this turn, like, this is going to be your hero. And one of the things that does, it's flexibility and making little tactical choices, but it also kind of helps if you've lost a character or two pretty early. Like if you're down to just one or two characters, you have the ability to be like, well, this guy's going hard this turn, he's going hard again this turn, and it kind of evens things. Anyway, that was my memory of that game, is that there was a cool little inspiration mechanic of like, yeah, this guy gets to have a big turn. Anyway, I started painting up my starter set of Bloodfield. It's a 4v4 starter set. There's one of like animal people, and there's a rhinoceros man and a cat lady, and there's a hyena man, and they're humanoid versions of each of these creatures, and they're pretty cool. Versus, it was kind of like an inquisitor set for, or like a witch hunter inquisitor for the other team. And there's no way around it. I gotta just come out here and say it. The person who packed up that box in 2021 gave me 2 cat ladies and forgot to put in one of the dudes. So
oh no.
This is always the most awkward thing for doing YouTube reviews, is that when you get like a fluke in a bad way, it's like, oh man, I don't know what to tell you. Like in 2021, you should have been paying more attention when you loaded up this starter box.
Also, you didn't open it.
Well, I did open it. I was like, oh, cool. Okay. These models are pretty good, but it wasn't like counting them and matching them up with their cards and everything. I was like, this looks about right. Like, hey, there's some pretty good detail on this. Not bad. Yeah. And I'm sitting there like, oh, I got 2 cat ladies and none of the... I don't even know what the other guy was. He was just like a guy with a hairy face. I'm not sure what he was supposed to be. I don't have one to compare and look at. I just have his unit card. And kind of like the picture on the front of the box. But yep, person who packed up the starter set that I bought for Bloodfields made a little boo-boo, and now you know, the YouTube video that's gonna feature a little bit of Bloodfields is gonna have 2 cat ladies and none of the hairy face animal man leader guy from that faction. So
I mean, considering that these are now COcast models, right? Could you chop the head off of the cat lady and put like a Wolverine head on it and just call that a day, since it's not 3D printed, right?
So the thing is, it's sure. I mean, yes, I could always kit bash the duplicate that I have. I'm not going to be cutting apart my cat lady. I rolled with it. I did slightly different undercoats so that as I'm testing out the speed paint marker, slapshot undercoat on one, white undercoat on the other, give them the same paint scheme, take a look at them, like that sort of thing. But with Bloodfield, it is a game that has a lot of 3D printable characters. And so if the day ever came where I actually did want to take that to a game table, just print off whatever character I want to be the leader of that little faction.
Doesn't matter at all.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about it. I have thousands of miniatures probably. I'm not going to get bent out of shape about this one. I just thought it was funny. Like, oh, guys, of all the starter sets to mispack and sell to somebody, like this was the wrong one.
That's going up. Yeah.
Bad luck, lads. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's a bummer. I've got a bunch of those the Bloodfields models. I mean, I think on Titan Forge for a couple of years. Yeah. Shit. No, I think I still am. Pretty sure.
Me too. Me too. Yeah. I love Titan Forge sculpts. There's several of the characters in there. They're like, dang, this guy is great. Like the Rhino Man and the Hyena Man are fantastic models. And like I'm tempted to go and print another one and paint it with actual paints and not markers.
Yeah, right. That's kind of nice. That's a good way to look at it. Like you paint something up with markers for a quick game. You know, you want to throw down some Bloodfields, and you're like, you know what? This Rhino guy's worth it. I'm gonna make this for real. Yeah.
That was something I was thinking about too. Of the idea of speed painting and why do you want to just bash like a mediocre 20 or 30 minute paint job together? And one of the reasons is that's enough time to get to know the sculpt and see what the pouches are supposed to be and see if that it's supposed to be leather or cloth, or if you like the facial expression. Like, it gives you the right amount of time to be looking at a model and thinking about a model and to like experience the model, even if it doesn't look good and you wouldn't actually want to put it on your display shelf. Like, you have experienced that model, and you will recognize that model if you ever see it again somewhere. And also, if it was good enough, like, actually, yes, I want another copy of that. We're going to do it right this time. Like, that's
I mean, that is honestly one of the upsides with armies like Space Marines, like Stormcasts, even the Orcs, right? Like, the armor is kind of a set thing, and once you've painted a handful of those, you're like, yeah, I like doing this activity, this very specific activity with these colors, and you get much better at doing it just for painting a few models. So it makes sense. Like, you do a quick speed paint on a model. If you can have a duplicate of it, like, you're probably going to do a better job on the second one just because you know where everything is. Makes a lot of sense.
The cat rogue model was okay. It wasn't my favorite model in the box. I mean, I like cats, but it was okay. If I was going to get a duplicate of something, would have preferred another Rhino Man. Would have preferred another Hyena. But it's okay.
I think cat people hit a weird uncanniness, of cats, like the musical a little bit. Some furry stuff.
Wares.
Like, it gets weird. Yeah. It gets weird. So I could see that. Cat models are strange. Cats in general,
it's freaking weird.
Perfectly fine. Yeah.
So I don't know. It was a $20 starter box though that came with tokens and 8 models, like little rule set. It's fine. I'm not upset. Just bad luck, guys. Bad luck.
$4. Oh no. Yeah. like two.
Boy, I hope the person who packed this 3 years ago got good at their job. Like,
I would think so. It's been that long. Like, they're good at that.
Hope that person isn't working there anymore.
No. Oh, so good.
No, there are times when I'd actually be annoyed if there was something I really wanted. But in this case, it's like, I haven't found an excuse to paint this yet. I'll use it as some test models here, and I'll at least get to paint some of these models. And just like, oh, whoops. Oh well. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you end up actually using it, you never know. I'm sure you could find
never know.
In your STL pile.
Yeah,
it's probably
true.
there.
It probably is
there.
Probably is.
Yeah, that makes sense. Anyways, thank you again for joining us on another episode of Paint Bravely. If you enjoyed this podcast, please help us out by leaving us a review on iTunes, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and sharing this message with your hobby friends. And as always, we appreciate each and every one of you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time.